push to outlaw lessons on racism. Just a few days ago, you might have noticed Governor Ron DeSantis vowed publicly to ban teachers from even teaching critical race theory in Florida schools.
And tonight, Southwest Florida leaders are reacting, saying critical race theory could help explain common racial disparities like the achievement gap and social injustice. Fox 4's Rachel Lloyd has the story.
Critical race theory is a phrase circulating in academia and now among several conservative lawmakers nationwide who are saying publicly they're against it. But before we look at why they're pushing back on CRT, it's important we first all understand what it is. It started with civil rights leaders as a way to examine certain laws created to oppress people of color and has evolved into an exploration of how racism impacts all professions. That's according to two psychologists writing a book on critical race theory. Governor Ron DeSantis wants to ban it from being taught in Florida schools. In March, he called it an unsubstantiated theory. Instead, he wants to invest $106 million in civics curriculum. But the Lee County NAACP president, James Milwaukee, says the country hasn't made enough progress to do away with critical race theory, also known as CRT.
We are not at a point yet in America where America is race neutral, or we're living in a colorblind society.
The most obvious example shows up on this very day, marking the one-year anniversary of the death of George Floyd, a black man who was murdered in Minneapolis by a white man who was a police officer at the time. And back here at home, Milwaukee says although Floyd's death didn't happen here and we didn't see the unrest other parts of the country saw, Southwest Florida hasn't made enough progress to avoid CRT. But DeSantis says critical race theory is counterproductive to the country's progress.
Teaching kids to hate their country and to hate each other is not worth 1 red cent.
Milwaukee says he agrees with the governor to an extent that hate shouldn't be taught. However, he says children are usually not introduced to racism or hatred at school.
It's taught at the kitchen table. It's taught sitting on the front porch.
School board member Gwen Giddens says it could help students and adults understand the achievement gap between different races even today.
If we look at the achievement and say some students are not learning as well, then you look at the data and say, well, which students? And then you look at why.
According to the Florida Department of Education, 32% of black students in Lee County are in the lowest tier for reading compared to 13% of white students in the county. In Fort Myers, Rachel Lloyd, Fox 4.